Hey,
Here he is.
it's working. Oh, I can hear you. You sound lovely.
Oh.
Hello, Björn. Hello, Vladek. How are you both?
Hello.
It's very nice to meet
I'm
you
good
guys.
anyway.
You're good? Oh, good. I'm good too. How are you doing, Vladek?
I'm well, just enjoying the evening, and yeah, good to have you here.
Very excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Two
Yeah.
hotshot photographers making their way in the podcast game. Very exciting.
Oh, please.
Have we started? Should we do an intro?
Oh, no, we have started a long time ago.
Oh, we started. Oh, okay. Oh, I'll be on my best behavior. Okay, very good.
I thought you were.
Oh, okay. Yes, I am. I've been doing the podcast the whole time. I thought we were just chatting.
You started climbing at 13 and
Oh, you've done your research. Yes, I started when I was 13, and I've been doing it for 20 years now.
Wow. You look younger.
Thank you very much. Although man, I also think I look quite young, but apparently I look older than I used to, because one of the junior team members asked how old I was the other day, and I was like, oh, guess. And she was like, 39? I was like, what? No. She's like, oh, 40? I was like, no, stop. You're going the wrong way. No, stop guessing my age. I don't like it now. But no, I think I have a boyish face, and I am very silly, so I seem younger than I am.
You also, I mean, you started competing quite early, quite soon after you started, right?
Yeah, I started going to competitions probably a year, 2 years after I started climbing, but I would not say I was in any way actually competitive. Like I wanted to win, but I didn't have a chance. I was bad at climbing, had no idea how to manage myself at a competition. I think I took a weird path to end up on a national team going to the World Cups, because when I arrived on the national team, everyone else, I think, had been doing the normal thing of they started climbing when they were young. They did loads of junior international competitions, and now they're fully formed. Now they're on the senior national team. They go to the senior World Cups. And then there was me popping up at the age of 20 going, I've done some local comps and I've been trying national championships every now and then, but I don't actually have any real experience at proper competitions, like international level, with proper serious athletes. So I felt a little bit out of my depth.
So you just did local comps, and then you ended up doing really well on a national comp, or what happened? Like how did you join the team?
So the I don't know how it is for the Swedish national team, but the selection process for the British climbing team, it's changed a lot. It's been updated loads recently, but at the time when I ended up on the GB team, they kind of had some vague selection process of either, if I think you make finals at the national championships, or you two will know it. You know the QIF competition, Climbing Works International Festival, big, basically an unofficial round of a World Cup. It's like that sort of level. So the British team managers would say, if you make finals at the national championships and you make finals at the QIF, then we're probably going to select you for the team. Or, and I think this is how I ended up on the team, if you just demonstrate good potential. So I think I actually didn't get a very good result in the national championships, but they saw me climbing and kind of thought whoa, that guy's very strong and has really good contact strength. If we can teach him how to climb better, he could be really, really good. And then a couple of years later, they're like, no, it's not working. Go back to practicing on your own. I think they sent me to the World Cups hoping I'd do really well. I did not do very well. So I came home, and now I just practice, and I like it.
So were you Captain Cutloose at the time, or when did that come?
Man, oh no, because I remember. I mean, I definitely had that sort of style of climbing for sure. But I think the name Captain Cutloose, where did it come from? So no, okay. I think my Instagram originally was just called Louis Climbing or something normal. Then Beastmaker, you know, the fingerboard brand, they hosted a competition in Sheffield called the Beastmaker International Footless Festival. Perfect competition for me. So it was basically just a campusing competition, and I won the first year of it. I was very, very happy. And then while we were away in Canada for one of the few rounds of the World Cups I ever did, I think Shauna Coxey was the one who was like, you should change your Instagram name to Mr. Biff, because you won the competition. You get to call yourself Mr. Biff. And I was like, great idea. I think it's a great idea. I'll call myself Mr. Biff. So I changed it. And then I went to the Biff competition the next year and I lost. So I was like, well, crap. I don't know what to call myself on Instagram now. So I don't know where Captain Cutloose came from, but I was like, I can't call myself Mr. Biff anymore because I'm not Mr. Biff. Someone else has won the title of Mr. Biff. So I'll call myself Captain Cutloose. Sounds catchy. I like to cut loose. But it's simultaneously me describing the way I like to climb, and also slightly self-critical of you'd probably climb harder if you weren't Captain Cutloose and had the same level of strength. So it's what I've focused on practicing a lot over the last few years.
And how does Captain Cutloose end up being a climbing coach?
Good question. Yeah, because you think like, what business do you have? You're saying that you don't think you're very good at climbing. Why are you teaching other people? So okay, long route to it, but I've been into climbing since I was 13. I was like really enthusiastic about it, and I was very, very passionate and obsessed. And I used to go like every day, loved doing it, but didn't have any real expectation, or I wasn't even like considering, oh, one day maybe I could do this for a job. I hadn't considered that I'd ever be good enough at competitions, already good enough at climbing to make a career from it. I actually don't think I am good enough at climbing to make a career from it. I think I'm very entertaining, and that's why people watch my stupid videos. But yeah, so I then went to university, actually to study pharmacology, which is like medicinal research sort of stuff. And a combination of things while I was at university. One thing was, because I was with the university climbing team, started doing loads more competitions, probably spent a bit too much time climbing and not studying, but fine, that's how university is.
As you do, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I did a lot of climbing, and I got quite a lot stronger and better. And then I got invited onto the national team. It must have been just after or just before I left university. So I reached a higher sort of level in my climbing, which I was quite happy with. But then at the same time, I was trying to work out what to do for my work, and I realized I liked pharmacology, the degree that I studied, but not. I could tell I was like, well, of the things I'm passionate about, climbing, very passionate. Pharmacology, not as passionate, but and not passionate enough that I think I could compete for a high level job in this. So then I did a module in science communication, which I found fascinating. It doesn't sound like that significant a thing, but the whole module was, and they explained it so well. I really, really loved it. I still remember it. They went, okay, you're now in your third year of university. As you have all now seen, we often show you a 20-page long research paper about some new cool science thing. But as you've seen, you basically need to already have a science degree to understand what this research paper says.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they explain, they're like, there's a whole job, science communication, which is taking a big long research paper and turning it into 500 words that can go in a newspaper. Everyone can understand what it means. They understand how valuable the research is. So I really, really enjoyed that. And then it slowly led me to the point where I was like, okay, I think I love talking to people. I like presenting things. I like trying to explain things to people. So science teacher. I think I could be a science teacher. So I did a lot of practice. I did some teacher training. Did a bit of tutoring. I also did a bit of art tutoring very briefly because I was really into that as well. And then yeah, so it was firmly down the road of I'm going to be a science teacher. I'm very excited about it. Maybe I'll climb on the weekends. Oh well. And then a friend asked if I could teach them a bit of climbing. So we just met up in the gym and I showed them some things. And immediately I was like, well, obviously this is what I should be doing. This is a combination of thing. Oh, what's the there's a Japanese word for it that a student told me recently. I'll need to look it up. It's a Japanese word that simultaneously means like, oh, you are actually good at it. It makes other people happy, and people will pay you money for it. It's a perfect combination of things. Let me see if I can find this word quickly.
It's a great word, whatever it is.
They have word for everything.
Yeah, I know. Is it inigaki? No, it is not. I'm just making up words. I'll find it another time. Or someone who listens to the podcast can comment and tell you what the word is, I guess. So yeah, I started like very unofficially. Actually, my mum still reminds me. She's like, remember when you didn't even use a calendar to try and manage like your coaching stuff? I was like, well, I didn't need to because it was just Matthew, and I saw him on Saturday morning, and that was it. That was the only guy. And then it got to the point where I was like, okay, now I have like a whole bunch of students, and so I did like my coaching training. I got some insurance for myself. I did my first aid training, and I was just on my own doing loads of coaching. And now, fast forward 10 years or so, and now I have a whole team of coaches, and I run Catalyst. Oh, it's not showing up. There we go. Catalyst Climbing. I'm wearing my new T-shirt, so you can all see. And yeah, now I get to teach other coaches, which I really, really enjoy doing. I get to run like adult teams, junior teams. I do private coaching every day. Makes me really happy. I get a lot of fulfillment just from pretty much every session. I get to spend 90 minutes hanging out with a nice person who wants to learn more about something they're passionate about. And by the end of it, they're happy. I'm happy. We've had a great time doing some climbing. It's a dream. I'm very, very happy with my job.
Nice.
Sounds great, huh?
It's nice. Good daily life.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So how many like coaching lessons do you have per like every day?
I used to do a lot more actually. I used to do when all I did was climbing coaching, and literally my whole life was just I do 90-minute private coaching sessions, and I just do as many as I can every week, and that's my income. Sometimes I do 6 or 7 a day, but often it was like every day for a long time. So I got a lot of practice. And now more recently, it's actually I hired a full-time admin manager for Catalyst. She's called Sadie, and she is saving my life on a daily basis. Because she was the one who pointed out, she was like, I notice you say yes to everything, which is nice, but then the result is that you often, I think, overstretch yourself, and then you burn out a little bit. So maybe we could work out your calendar a little bit better, because I think I was still trying to say yes to every booking, but now I have to do some admin. I do like some YouTube filming once a week or so. I've then got like my own training that I really want to do now. So now I probably do like, what's my week? Maybe like 20 or 25 hours of coaching in person. Then maybe a day of some YouTube stuff, another day of just on the laptop sending emails and having meetings with people and things like that. And then probably about 8 hours a week of just like my own training. But I don't know why I do this. I don't do this in my own training. This is just the side training.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds kind of big.
It's a nice balance. Yeah, it's good at the moment.
Yeah, but
it's only recent. Sorry, Vladek, go on.
Yeah, no worries. Like, what kind of people do you coach actually?
Oh, big mix. I think it's a mix of people. I think relatively rare, probably because I'm a little bit expensive now. I don't teach many absolute beginners, like people who are saying, I've never climbed before, I just want to learn how to climb. They usually don't end up with me. They might end up with one of the other Catalyst coaches, just because they might look through the website and go, well, he's the most expensive one, and I don't need that yet, so I'll go with a slightly cheaper coach. But I do sometimes teach people who have like never climbed before, which for me is always actually really interesting, seeing what is like instinctive for people, them asking questions. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I hadn't thought about that because it's so familiar to me. Yeah, of course, that doesn't make sense doing it this way. Let's try it this way instead. So I teach some people who've never climbed before. I think the biggest demographic of climbers I work with are probably between V3 to V6 or so. And usually I think that's where people feel like they plateau most commonly. They're like, oh, I was making rapid progress. I've been climbing for a year, did my first V1, did my first V2, did my first V3, and now I've done a V4, and it feels like ages has gone by and I still haven't done a V5. I must not be getting better. Better go and see a coach. And then sometimes they see me, which is lovely. I also have a fair number of higher level students, but just more experienced students. Either they might come and see me about like some mindset stuff. I love working on mindset with people. I've learned lots about it over the years. Or I mean, the most common one, if I ask at the start of the lesson of like, is there anything in particular that you wanted to practice together or learn about today? A pretty common one is, I want to get better at dynos. And so I'm like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense, because I obviously love dynos and I love teaching it. So this is going to be a great lesson. I always love teaching those. And then, yeah, sometimes I have people, not very often, but pretty occasionally, they climb like really, really hard, but they've got a specific style that they want to develop a little bit more. Usually, if it's just yarding on crimps and climbing statically and traditionally, they would absolutely crush me. But learning to be a bit more fluid and a bit more coordinated generally is then something that I can help them learn a little bit more. So a whole range, yeah, different ages. Today I had a guy, we were working like a bunch of V7s and V8s, and then I had three young students, like 9, 10, 13, who actually didn't seem that experienced, but they were like crazy strong and really, really focused. Good students. Very, very happy with them. So yeah, big mix of people.
So is there anyone, like any kind of climber that you would never take on, like sort of an upper limit or a special style, or?
No, I mean, sometimes usually it doesn't get to the point where we've sat down for the lesson where this would suddenly come out, but they usually will describe in the email when they're like arranging the session what sort of thing they're looking for. I think if someone said something like, I want to book a lesson with Louis, specifically, I want to learn about fingerboarding, strength and conditioning, nutrition, things like that, I wouldn't say no, but I would probably tell them, I was like, oh, I mean, we can do it if you want, but it's not my specialty. I'd actually recommend these other people instead. If that's what you want to focus on, I can tell you what I know, which is a bit, but it's not my specialty. I think you should book that guy instead. He'll be way better. You'll get loads more from it. Aside from that, I mean, that doesn't happen very often, because usually if people are booking a lesson with me, they kind of know the sort of thing that I'm going to be teaching anyway, because they've often seen my videos, or they can see on the website, things like that. Is there anyone I'd say no to? I can't think of. No, I wouldn't say no to either of you guys. I mean, that's the thing. Often I try to convince people that I think a lot of people think they're not good enough to get coaching, and so sometimes I'm trying to, like, not just because I want to be booked for some coaching because I get paid, which is nice, but often because I think people deserve to have coaching to get better at climbing, and they sometimes don't think they deserve it. Often if people are older, or if they're not yet very experienced with climbing, they think, no, I couldn't book a lesson because I'm not good enough. He would be really annoyed that I'm not good enough, and I'd embarrass myself, and it's no good. I'm like, no, I can teach you some good stuff, and you'd get better quickly. So no, I can't think of, unless you've got some examples of people I might say no to. I probably wouldn't want to teach Trump. If Trump asked, I probably would say no. But we can go through
Would you
other
though?
examples if you want.
Would you though? That's good PR.
It is quite good PR, but so would saying no. That would be good PR too.
That's true as well. Yeah. That's very true. Even so, crack climbing would work for you.
Well, it might be another one where I go like, oh, if you asked, hey Louis, can we do a lesson together? I specifically want to focus on crack climbing. Then I might say like, oh, I mean, obviously that's not my specialty. I also want to learn more about it. So if you want to spend some time practicing it together and just having a really fun time, like playing around and learning, then we might learn some cool stuff. But if you actually want to learn from an expert, no, why are you booking me? Go and talk to like Pete Whitaker. He's the one who knows how to crack climb. I know. Actually, I'm not even certain I know the basics of crack climbing. That's what this is all I know. This is what I teach you for 90 minutes.
Well, is there more, you say?
I don't think there's more than that. Maybe I learned that one from Pete.
Come on, guys.
There we go.
But then you're stuck.
Judging us. I usually do this, man. It's way better.
Cool. So would you actually recommend like an absolute beginner to who hasn't climbed at all to get a coach?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I say I've got a pretty similar line when someone asks like, oh, and it's a similar question, do I need to get climbing coaching in order to get better at climbing? And usually I say no, of course you don't. You can work it all out yourself, but it would take longer, and that's about it. It also sometimes might not be as fun, and I do work hard to make sure, like, I want learning how to climb and I want practicing to be fun and enjoyable. It's our hobby. We do it because we love it. So ideally, getting better at it shouldn't be painful. And I think usually, yeah, what I tell people is, as I said, I've climbed for like 20 years, and I'm not bad. I think if I'd had like, not that I haven't had some coaches who have helped a little bit, or some instruction, or as part of like a kids club when I was young, but I think if I'd had like, if I had sought out some really good coaching and stuck with it deliberately, I might have been much better, much faster. I think having someone who would have helped me be more determined in focusing on getting better at stuff that I wasn't very good at, someone who was able to point out common mistakes I was making and show me how to stop making them would have been great. So maybe I would have been, and this is always what's difficult to tell, like, oh, maybe I would have got better faster. Maybe I would just be like 10% better than I am now, which actually might be quite a lot. So yeah, overall, no one needs coaching, but it's a pretty useful boost. And there's, I think actually early in someone's climbing journey might be a better time to get coaching, because I spent a lot. Oh, it's my Captain Cutloose nickname. A lot of my practice over the last 10 years or so has been me trying to change some really bad habits that have been ingrained into my climbing, which is every time I get to bad handholds, forget about the feet, pull really, really hard, which obviously doesn't always work. And I think if I'd been practicing that earlier, or if I hadn't developed a slightly inefficient habit earlier on, then it would have been easier to practice later. So yeah, beginners, good for coaching.
So would you say that you are a better climber now than you were when you competed on the World Cup?
Oh yeah, a lot better. I think I think about it sometimes. I'm nowhere near as strong as I used to be. I'm still pretty strong, but not as strong as I used to be. And I think I would crush young Louis if we went to a competition together. Easy one. He would climb none of the slabs, and I think I would do them now. So already big advantage. But even when it came to like power style of climbing, I think he would burn all his energy really quickly and not end up doing the climb, whereas I might do it in fewer tries and just been a little bit smarter about it. So man, I wish I could go back in time and coach myself. That would be way better. So yeah, no, I think better at climbing than I used to be, but in a bunch of different ways.
And do you feel that you're still improving?
I like to think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke about this with a student recently, where he asked like, "Oh, how do we measure our progress as climbers?" And it was tricky, because I was like, "Well, it would be great to base it on the grading system, and to go, oh well, a year ago I couldn't climb this grade, and now I do climb this grade. Brilliant." But for me, that only really works if the grading system was accurate at all, which it isn't. So we're stuck. So then we talked about like, oh well, obviously I can measure my my progress in strength, and I can measure what edges I can hang off and how many pull-ups I can do and how much weight I can use. But he and I immediately were like, does being stronger immediately correlate to being better at climbing? Absolutely not. I mean, as we were just saying, I think I'm better now than I ever was, and I'm a lot weaker than I used to be. So overall, we agreed on what I try to keep in mind. If I multiple times a week am going climbing, and I'm focusing and I'm practicing things that help me get better, and I'm training and getting slightly stronger, it seems insane that wouldn't lead to me steadily getting better. It would be weird for that not to be the case. So yeah, I'm confident I am still getting better. There are climbs that usually slab and technical climbs, which one week I can't do, and the next week I can hold some positions, and the week after that I can do the moves, and then the week after that I can do the whole climb. So yeah, I think I'm learning how to climb better. I'm also now training a bit harder and getting strong again, which is nice. And it actually feels like getting a little bit stronger actually makes a big difference now that I'm better at climbing. Whereas when I was younger, I think I could have got 1,000 times stronger and it would not have changed anything for me. But I think I'm also learning a lot about just mindset and approach to practicing stuff, how to deal with bad sessions, how to deal with bad results in competitions, that sort of thing. I think I actually climb annoyingly much better in competitions now I'm older than I ever did when I was younger, mostly because I've learned that it's okay not to do well, and it isn't anything to be embarrassed about or frustrated about necessarily. And now not putting that pressure on myself means I can just relax and climb. I've lost what the question was. Sorry, what was the question originally?
I forgot. But
you
mentioned though that you had like good sessions, bad sessions, and you can't trust the grading system, like the grades basically.
Yeah.
How do you measure a good and a bad session?
That's a good question. So actually, I made myself write it really clearly on my training plan, because I think what I want to be a good session is I come into the gym, I warm up, I feel like a superhero, I flash all my projects. That's the session I want every day. And I noticed I was often like, I'd write on my training plan saying this wasn't a good session, didn't do any of the projects, equals bad session. And finally, I've now started getting into my head of like, not the session I wanted to have, not the same thing as a bad session. Because, okay, if my top level was I want to feel like a superhero and do every one of my projects and they all feel easy, well, how realistic is that? How often does that actually happen? Maybe 1 out of 10 sessions. Maybe I feel like that.
And
So
how do you flash a project? Like,
well, sorry, Dave. I've already done all the moves. It felt really hard before, and then I came in today, and oh my god, I was wrong. It felt easy. I just did the whole thing. Sometimes that happens, but if I'm expecting that every day, and it only happens 1 out of 10 sessions, well, now I'm just miserable 90% of the time for no reason. So now I've started reminding myself, I'm like, no. Sometimes I go to the gym. I'm like, yes, it would have been nice to do the projects, but my actual aim was pull hard on small holds and get better. Did you do that? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, successful session then. Great, carry on. I've tried to get to a point where I don't feel bad about any session I have. It's tricky because sometimes I feel like I'm climbing badly, and even then I'll go like, okay, we learned to deal with frustration better than yesterday. Well done. Hopefully you climb better tomorrow. We don't have to battle with frustration as much, but fine. We still went climbing. I think, actually, Adam Ondra, I heard him saying something about this, where he was like, however much you climb, however much you train, however good you get, you're still going to have a certain number of bad sessions. And if that's not going to change, however strong and however much I practice, then I may as well just go like, this is a bad session. Fine. I'm going to have 5 sessions this week. This was one of the bad ones. So cool. Maybe the next session will be better. So no, yeah, a good session, I would sometimes measure it by doing certain climbs, but more likely I try to measure it on how strong I feel, how well I feel like I'm moving, what my mindset's like for that day. So maybe a good session, I would say I feel strong. My skin feels good. I feel like I move confidently and precisely, and I'm able to concentrate on multiple different things at once. I can keep foot tension and reach into holds, and I can do all of that and feel like really, really positive all the way through the session, even if I fall off stuff. So then opposite of all of those, maybe a session that feels bad would be my skin hurts. I don't feel as strong as I normally do. I feel really uncoordinated, and I keep like just my foot slips when normally I think I could just keep it on. And sometimes I have all of that stuff, but it still doesn't feel like a bad session. So I'm like, whatever, I'm still having a great time. I'm trying some really cool climbs. I don't mind that I'm not climbing that well. But for me, a really bad session is when my skin hurts, I feel uncoordinated, I feel weak, and I feel really angry about that. If I add that last one, I'm guaranteed to just not have a very nice time, and I won't climb well, and I'll feel upset about it. So I try to be, just more present about going like, okay, at the worst, I get to go climbing, or whatever. It's better than not going climbing. I could be stuck in an office, tapping away wearing a tie. That would suck. But I'm here at the climbing gym. So whatever. There's nice people, there's nice climbs. Fine. I didn't get to do the hard climbs I wanted, but still got to climb. Could be worse.
Yeah, cool. It's kind of funny because every one of us, we won't be like superheroes, like flash everything, but that's actually only mean you are not trying hard enough, because
I spoke about that with a student earlier of like, if what we enjoyed about climbing was succeeding and getting to the top of a climb, why would we set any hard climbs? That would be a bad idea, because we would want to just do them every time. We set hard climbs because we like being challenged. We like learning stuff. We like falling off and making progress. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Vladek. If we're flashing everything, try some harder climbs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, what we want is to flash problems with a hard grade, like relatively.
I get, but even then, I'm like, but if I flashed a problem with a hard grade, I mean, okay, actually, I say it to students all the time, specifically, and this actually helps with my mindset loads nowadays. I try to keep in mind all the time, specifically what I want is I want to feel challenged. I want to feel like I'm trying hard. I want to feel like I'm learning things. So if I flash a climb with a hard grade, I'm usually like, did I learn anything? Did I actually feel like I was challenged? Or was this a climb that suited me so much that, yes, it's nice for my ego, ooh, flash a hard climb, but I didn't actually try that hard. I didn't actually learn anything. I'm not really making progress here. So no, I'd rather, and this is very different to a younger Louis, I'd rather get my butt kicked on the V3 slab over there. I'll have a bunch of tries of that because I'm definitely learning stuff on this one. But never used to be that way when I was younger.
Yeah, well.
None of us were.
Back to the coaching. I saw on your website you have some remote trainings as well, remote coaching.
Oh yes. Are you interested, Vladek?
How does it work for you? Because I have some experience with it, like as a coach, and I prefer actually face-to-face coaching.
I prefer face-to-face as well. But sometimes, like, I had a student who was on one of the adult teams that I coach, and now he's moved to America. He wants to carry on training and practicing together, but obviously we can't train in person. I did try it once or twice, the idea of, okay, we're both going to be on Zoom, but you're going to be at the gym doing climbs, and I'll watch through Zoom and I'll give you advice. Doesn't work. Mostly I was like, yeah, I can't see anything. Did you do it? Did you fall off? I can't tell. Let alone give any advice on like what the holds are like, the positions are like. No, I just can't see what's going on. So instead, we've got a process where we ask people to record a whole bunch of videos of themselves climbing. I've got some specifications, but usually I just go like, I just want to see what it looks like when you climb on different styles, different angles, different difficulties. I then review all those videos. The other Catalyst coaches do this as well. So I do some like video analysis and work out like, oh, I can see that, okay, every time they show me a video of them on a slab, it's a couple of grades lower than the stuff they're doing on overhangs, and it looks like they're trying way harder. So probably on the training plan, they're going to be doing a lot of slabs. Maybe I can see some stuff to do with their precision. Maybe I can see that they're sometimes, like, obviously I don't know because I've not done the climbs, but I can usually read them a little bit. Sometimes in the videos I'm like, oh man, they just chose all the wrong options on that climb. I think we can work on some route reading. That might be really helpful. So yeah, I'll do some video analysis. They also fill out a questionnaire saying what they think they're good and bad at, how much time they have for on-the-wall sessions, stretching, conditioning, fingerboarding, and all this sort of stuff. And then we meet on Zoom, and we usually do an hour of just like chatting, getting to know each other. We'll talk through their answer to the questionnaire. We'll talk through all the stuff I saw in the video analysis, and then a couple of days later, I will send them a training plan, but not just like fingerboarding and conditioning. I usually send, the main focus is like some guided on the wall sessions of warm up by doing these drills, then do these drills for a while, then project climbs of this style. For some students, I might give some limitations of like, I know that you're like me, and when you try a hard climb, you have 1,000 attempts every minute, and then you get tired and don't do some projects. So special projecting rule, you get one try every 5 minutes. If you wait 5 minutes, then fall off the first move, tough. Wait another 5 minutes, and then try again. So I will then do like a detailed session plan, as well as some fingerboarding, some conditioning, some stretching recommendations. And then we usually just check in on Zoom every couple of weeks. They can send me questions while they're doing it. More helpful is we actually like get face-to-face on Zoom. We chat through how it's going, what they're finding easy, what they're finding hard. If they've got any questions, we might look at some videos of some projects they're working on, and I might give some advice on those. It's pretty fun. I like to work in person, but not everyone can do in person. So yeah, remote is quite nice as well.
But do you have some students you never ever like met in real life, like really just online, or?
Yeah, some, not so many. But because I prefer the in-person stuff, so I don't have as much availability for the remote stuff. But definitely, I've had some students who never been to the UK, never had a session in person, but would still book some remote coaching because they can't get to the UK. Some people come over to the UK as part of their holiday, but then they'll also have a session with me while they're holidaying in the UK. But yeah, sometimes the remote coaching is fun too.
Do you have any clients in Sweden?
Do I have any clients in Sweden? I'm sure I
or
do.
Have you had?
Let me check. Hang on. I'm not going to use names, but okay, let's have a look. Who was in? I'm sure there was one recently who was in Sweden, but I can't remember who it was. That you? Okay, yes. Yeah, no, okay, yes, I do have a student in Sweden. So yeah, 1 or 2 in student, maybe 2 more if you two are interested.
Well, Vladek is in Switzerland, so.
Oh no, I don't coach anyone from Switzerland. Sorry, Vladek.
Well,
Sweden, Switzerland, whatever,
Yeah,
same. Close enough. But so I've been really impressed by watching your videos about your way of analyzing movement.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have any tricks, any process how you do it, method?
Oh, good question. So okay, usually if I'm coaching someone on a climb, I often find it difficult to give really good information about how movements work or the different options they might have if I haven't also tried it as well. But I try to be I try to be quite careful about how I describe like different options on a climb. And actually nowadays I'm really careful if I do the climb a certain way to explain to the student, like, well, to be clear, what I'm doing isn't the correct way. It's the way that feels best to me of the options I've tried so far. Try it as well. Maybe it will feel good to you as well. And sometimes it does. Sometimes they're like, no, this feels awful. Let me try the other option. But then for like the movements, what do I look for? I mean, partly I might look at, did they do the move successfully or not? And if not, what went wrong? So sometimes it might just be, oh, they were too far away from the wall, so they didn't reach the hold, or they had the worst angle on it. Sometimes it might be, oh, their foot wasn't pushing them in the direction that I think it could. I guess a lot of it is just doing a lot of climbing, watching a lot of climbing, watching lots of students. You get very well practiced at imagining the path of least resistance that they want to take on a certain move and trying to work out how close were they to that imaginary image of where the movement could have been. And I guess we go from there. So sometimes, I actually had it this morning with one of my students. I was trying to teach him one particular move and we spent about 10-15 minutes on it. He was getting closer, but it was quite a hard option. And then he was the one who asked, he was like, what if I tried to put my foot all the way up there though? I was like, ooh, I think that's insane, but let me give it a go. And then I tried, I was like, oh yeah, that's way easier. Yeah, no, we wasted our time for the last 10 minutes. You could have just done that first go. And then we did that instead. So I think a lot of the movement analysis I do is kind of, well, trying to guide people towards trying certain things. Sometimes I might even say to a student, like, yes, I agree, this option that you found is way easier for you, but I want you to do this option because you're going to learn more by doing this option. So let's do this instead. I try to be really open-minded about students also having really good ideas for stuff because kind of, as I said, like sometimes I'm certain I've got the right answer and I'm wrong. I'm actually pulling way harder than I thought I was. I didn't notice there's another option which is way better, which the student will find if I give them a bit of time to explore it. So nowadays I do a bit of a mix of trying to explain as much as I can about certain moves, but also just asking students like, oh, did that work? And if not, okay, how did it feel? Did it feel like it was going to work? If not, why not? Can you explain a little bit more about it? I try to get students to think about it as much as I'm thinking about it because I realize, like, well, if my understanding of climbing movement has come from doing a climb once and then trying to think like, oh, but what if my arms were shorter? How would I have to do the climb now? What if I hated moving dynamically? How would I do it now? What if I was really, really tall? Now how do it? And if I do every climb like a million times and I think about, oh, how would I explain this to a student? How would I explain it if they wanted a different explanation? How would I do this, that, and the other? I ended up with a good understanding of movements, but then I want students to have the same thing of, oh, well, you can try out different things, think about how they feel and why, and then they end up with a good understanding of it as well, rather than me just telling them the answer. Sometimes we don't have much time, and I'll just tell them the answer, but nice if they can explore it for themselves a bit.
So do you also learn from watching World Cup competitions, and do you understand what the hell they're doing?
I used to watch a lot more. Now I still watch them when there's people I know who's in them, but I don't watch them as regularly. I do, other than like the big events. Obviously, I watch the Olympics and things like that. I find it really interesting because sometimes seeing people do moves which are clearly really hard, but they just do them perfectly and they do the easiest version of the move first time with full confidence. Incredible to watch that. Also often find it really interesting, often watching going like, oh, they're picking really bad options here and they're just muscling their way through it. Like, oh, actually, okay, good example. I did a video with Erin McNeice. She's a UK Olympic climber. And we were climbing on the on one of the new tension boards at a climbing centre in the north of England. And yeah, there were some moves that she was doing where I could only do it as there's no way I can lock off this hold, so I'll lunge and catch the next one. I need to use momentum to get to that next one. And it, I think, is an easier way of doing the move. And Erin every time would like lock this crib by her shoulder, reach really, really slowly. And I tried to ask her about it, like, that must take loads more effort and feel loads more uncomfortable. Why are you choosing to do this every time? And she, I mean, she's not wrong. She was like, well, I'm strong enough to do it that way, and I'm less likely to fall off. And now I've done the boulder and you haven't. So, so yeah, I go back.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
I guess that's the thing. Like as a World Cup climber, it's all about attempts, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, Toby Roberts
Yeah.
very similar. Like he
Mm.
often, I think, chooses harder moves, less risky moves, and uses way more strength because he has strength to burn, and then he does it in fewer tries. So yeah, it works. So yeah, I like watching just to see the variety of styles. I mean, you can watch someone like Toby who will just grind his way through every climb, and then one of his closest competitors. You can watch Anraku, who just floats through everything and uses like the perfect amount of momentum on every move. It's inspiring at the minimum, but then also often learn some cool stuff. Actually, yeah, in the same session with Erin, I saw her do like at least 2 techniques that I had never imagined before. There was one where she was like trying to lock off on a crimp and she couldn't get high enough on it. So she grabbed her hand, pulled higher, and then locked off there. And man, I tried it because I was like, wow, that looked great. Let me have a go. And then obviously I grabbed my hand and then my hand opened straight away and then I fell off. And then she did another one where I've seen people do it, but I've never seen anyone do it on a steep board. I think I remember a video of maybe either Melissa Leneve or Eula Verm doing a move where she was like pressing in a corner, trying to stand up on her leg. So she like put her hand on her knee to help straighten her leg. So I've seen that work in corners on a low angle. Seeing Erin do it again on the board, like she was locked off on a crimp and just pushed on her leg to get further into the move. You're just making stuff up at this point. How is this working for you?
But that's also interesting. I mean, since you were climbing with Erin, I watched that video actually, and I really liked it.
Great.
Yeah, but I mean, you often have these questions, how would Janja do against the boys, and that kind of thing. And since I mean, you climb with Erin, and you seem to hold your own a bit. Like, no,
I mean,
that's
okay,
the
so
impression you got from the video anyway. Like,
yes, okay, no, I had a similar one, and someone asked me about this. We did a video with Megos recently, and someone also pointed out, they're like, "Whoa, Louis, look, boulder for boulder with Megos. Oh my god, you're almost as good as him." I was like, "Ooh, yeesh." I think there are like maybe a few skills or a few areas of strength where I could almost match him, or maybe very specific skills I could even beat him every now and then. But then if we look at all of the different skills and styles that we need to be good at, then, and it would be the same with Erin, I'm like, oh, no. If you look at all of them, I'm completely outclassed. I've got 1 or 2 things that I could keep up with, but all of them, no. So I think, yeah, a good example would be, that Erin video. When it was like power-based moves and campusing, this is one of the things I'm best at, so I can almost keep up. And then we got onto a power endurance or an endurance-focused exercise near the end, and immediately you could suddenly see, okay, Olympian, not Olympian. So yeah, no, I think that's what I find really impressive about climbers of that level. They are as good at or better at the things I am really well practiced at and think I'm really, really good at. And then they're just as good at everything else, apparently. So yeah, Megos, he's got like absolute superpower for pinches. And then although he wouldn't put it as a strength of his, I reckon he's about as good as I am at the things I'm absolutely best at. And I do not have superpower pinches. Same for Erin. Like I don't think views herself as like a coordination compy style climber, but she can do those boulders and she does them about as quickly as I do. And then she also completely outclasses me at everything else. So yeah, no, in those videos it might briefly look like I could almost keep up, but only at a couple of specific things, I think.
Can you learn something from like better climbers than you? Like which
Of
like
course.
you said Erin pull on your own hand in like steep overhang, which you couldn't, but
Well, I often when I see someone do something like that, I'm like, oh, that looks insane. I want to learn more about how that feels. To be honest, actually, I would be interested to try the match your hand thing a little bit more, because I only tried it, and this is what I would advise students not to do. I tried it once, it went badly, it felt bad, and so I never tried it again. Smart Louis would have gone, okay, why didn't it work? What can we do to make it feel better? And actually, now I think about it, I'm like, I think Erin was very careful to grab her fingertips. Whereas I grabbed my knuckles and opened my hand straight away. So I'll make it easier. I'll try it again on a bigger hold, and I'll try like holding there. But also, I partly get going like, I don't want to be doing a climb that involves that method. Well, as soon as I'm doing that, I'm in hell. No, I don't want this. But it would be good for emergencies.
I mean, I do it sometimes because I'm too weak, so I need two hands. So
Yeah, but you need strong fingers, yeah.
yeah, well,
yeah, and I think high pain tolerance. Like, as soon as I try, like,
Mhm.
wow,
yeah,
don't like it. Yeah, I bet.
That's like that's like crack climbing, no?
Yeah,
Jamming,
yeah.
basically.
But no, there's definitely there's loads to learn by watching more advanced climbers. I mean, sometimes certain styles of movement, techniques we didn't know about. Sometimes mindset. Like I think that's the main one that I've learned from watching Toby Roberts and Erin when they climb. Their ability to try at their genuine maximum level of intensity over and over and over again without there really being a threshold where they're like, I've tried really hard for quite a long time. I'm going to stop now. They just seem to have trained to a point where they don't have that. They just try really, really hard. Whereas I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that I wasn't trying as hard as I thought I was. Now I've seen this. Now I know what trying hard looks like. So sometimes it can be a mindset thing. Sometimes it's technique. Sometimes it's movement, things like that. But definitely loads to learn by watching more advanced climbers.
But do you notice that styles are changing though as a coach? I mean, since the World Cup styles are changing all the time, does that transfer to the setting at the gyms that you're coaching at, or?
I mean, yeah, I think I felt I felt really, much older than I am when a student asked, oh, so obviously Louis, you teach all the like coordination, dynamic moves, paddle dynos, toe hook catches, all this sort of stuff. How did your coach teach you how to do this? And only when I thought about it, I was like, none of this existed when I started climbing. There was dyno to a jug. That was it. I remember the first time someone set dyno to 2 jugs. Ooh, and you had to catch 2 things at once. We're like, this is the craziest thing that ever happened. Yeah, and now there's toe hook catches, paddle dynos, foot plants, palm rollovers, all these sort of things. So yeah, I think those moves existing means that route setters often try and replicate them in commercial gyms, which I think is great. I think the more movement, the better. I don't entirely disagree, of course, with the idea of like, oh, but these moves are less frequent in outdoor climbing, and I think the proportion with which we practice them indoors doesn't reflect how often we're going to do them outdoors. I don't disagree with that at all. That's correct. It's very rare that I'm doing paddle dynos and toe hook catches outdoors, but movement is fun, and I like doing lots of different moves. And we kind of already said, like, one of the things we enjoy about climbing is learning new things. And if I wanted to just maul crimps and do left, right, left, right, left, right, I can go to the board. I can do that all day. Or there are plenty of climbs around the gym which are more traditional, right, left, crimp, just do basic moves. I think the more interesting stuff is cool. I like learning new things. Although I do slightly, I'm trying to adjust my mindset about this. There's a new thing which I am not a fan of, and I realise that because I'm not a fan of it, I always perform badly on it because even before I've tried it, I'm already furious that it exists. Have you seen the not dual techs, which I am a fan of?
No techs.
No techs.
But this is the thing: is like, okay, one of those climbs came up at a competition I did recently. Even just looking at it, I was like, I already hate this. I think it's stupid, and I don't like it. And obviously, if you're trying to climb something whilst also thinking this is stupid and I hate it, you don't climb very well. So it then took me a bunch of goes, which made me really annoyed. Then I finally did it, and annoyingly, I was like, I think that's like V3 at most. And I could have done that a lot faster if I wasn't angry, but I was angry, so fine, that's how it goes.
Have you met anyone who actually likes no techs?
Yes, weirdly, yes. The route setters are getting really, really into it. I even saw
Route
a route
setters,
setter. Yeah, I know. I mean, I could. I'm trying to get a bit more psyched about it because I'm like, okay, I like that I could never wear out my skin on these holds. Cool. I've already learned more about them. I've learned that if you put the normal amount of chalk on your hands, they are way worse to hold. And so actually having a bit of moisture makes them feel kind of sticky. And I suppose I could also say that I like that it means you have to be far more specific about the movement. You can't rely on friction. So if you catch the hole badly and you swing too much, you fall off. So you have to do the movements better. So all of the stuff I quite like, but then at the same time, I'm like, this isn't what I got into this game for. I like friction. It's the pivotal thing of our sport. But no, I saw a Roots had a posting recently saying I also used to not like these, and I was just setting a competition. We used them, and now I've also tried some climbs on them. Actually, no, I'm converted. I really like it. So yeah, it's not just me who doesn't like them or is unsure. Other people like it, so maybe it will become a thing.
I can sort of accept it as handholds, but as feet.
I actually prefer it as footholds than
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't mind.
They're usually big, so
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't mind standing on the foothold because once you're standing on it, you're like, okay, well, it either stays or it doesn't, and it is
That's the
staying.
thing.
So cool. I guess I'll stop thinking about this. Whereas for the hands, I think I can feel it too much, and it feels so unfamiliar that it distracts me. That's about it. I think that's it. It's very unfamiliar, so I don't like it. So I need to be more familiar with it, and maybe I like it some more.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Go on, Vladek, what were you going to ask?
But do you think we will see some like still new kind of moves in the World Cup or in climbing?
I mean, I like to think so. Yeah. Root setters
Can
are
you
very.
imagine that? Like to get some really new, some I don't know what. Yeah.
I guess like what counts as a new move, because I suppose even when like competition started, climbing was somewhat two-dimensional. We've got a flat surface, you go up. Now it's much more likely that we move in like 3 dimensions, and we're sometimes like turning around to do a move. So I think there probably are. Yeah, okay. I see root setters sometimes setting a specific variation of a sequence of dynamic moves or a sequence of static moves. Where like, oh, I've not done this sequence before. But yeah, I guess it kind of it's hard to tell. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, are we asking like, oh, I've never pressed in these directions and pulled in this combination before, or are we just saying like, oh, I've not moved and spun in that specific order? Because I think it'd be rare we're like, oh, obviously I've used all 4 of these limbs over and over and over again. Trying to find a new combination would be tricky. But then I see like, a friend of mine who does loads and loads of root setting. He's climbed for way longer than I have. He was testing one of his climbs, and basically as he did the top move, found, oh, I can do this weird combination where he'd like jam his foot one way, then twist his knee the other way. And he kind of accidentally did like, oh, a heel toe cam knee bar. And he was really excited about it because he was like, I've climbed for so long. I've never done this before. This is completely new for me. I've never put my foot and my knee in this position, and it feels like it takes all the weight off. Wow, amazing. So yeah, I try to do that in the warm-up as well, where I'm on easy climbs. And pretty much my aim is I want to try as many different moves as I can think of. If I could somehow come up with something that I've never done before, I would like to learn that on jugs before I'm made to do it on bad holds later. So yeah, try to be creative in the warm-up. It's really fun.
Have we seen a bat hang sort of dino swing?
As in, oh man, okay, maybe we should set this. So you
catch with your feet.
I can imagine this. Okay, so imagine you start like Titanic style, so you're holding holds and the wall is behind you, so you're facing out from the wall. You would have to jump for a jug facing towards you and then ride the swing, so you flip your feet up and catch a toe hook above your head. And then I guess you're saying the aim is let go of the hands, swing off the toe hook. Where are you going? You're just going into the audience at this point. Oh man. Yeah, okay. Well, let's try and work it out. I think it could be a thing.
Sounds dangerous.
It sounds really dangerous. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it, but I'll send it for you, Bjorn. You have a try.
Yeah, go for
it's not going to be. It's not going to be dangerous. I'm not going to get anywhere. So, if we try to look into the future, yeah, we always do that. Well, where else should we look actually?
Yeah.
But we have coaching online, right? Could AI coaching be a thing soon?
Oh, maybe, but I think it depends on what people want from their coaching. I can imagine something that AI could easily be taught how to do, which is I've benchmarked all my different types of strength. I have taught my AI model to understand all the different types of strength and the training that goes with them. So I've done my benchmarking. I've told it my schedule. Build me a training plan. I can imagine AI could do that, definitely. When it comes to in-person coaching, though, and working directly with a student, I say this regularly to the coaches I work with. I've got a very specific hierarchy of the skills that I think are important. At the bottom of the list is actually being good at climbing. Having a good understanding of climbing, I think, is a different thing, but actually being able to send a hard boulder or hard route, least important thing. Second most important thing, actually having good information that you want to be able to communicate to students. But then I think the most important skill for a coach is being empathetic and being really good at communicating. Because if you don't have those things, it doesn't matter how hard you climb, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have. If you can't explain it to your student in a way that they understand, then it's worthless. And then I'd also add to that, like when I do my coach training courses, I think there's a lot of, I mean, I definitely focus on it a lot when I'm teaching, but I think there's definitely an art to remembering that students are at their most receptive to information when they feel relaxed and happy and confident and excited about learning. And so I maybe overthink when I'm teaching, but constantly I'm trying to remember, I want to explain it as clearly as possible, but I also want to be really careful with my word choices. I want to be careful about the experiences that I want this student to have. I want them to feel really confident and excited to learn all the way through the lesson, and how I phrase certain things and how the certain things I get them to try can change how they feel. And then even if I'm giving like the most clear and concise and well-constructed explanation, if they're feeling really self-conscious about having just fallen off something and they feel like really distracted, they might not be able to hear what I'm saying or take in or remember that information. So when it comes to that side of coaching, of being really, really good with people and being really good at communicating and empathizing with somebody, I don't know how AI could do that. It would have to pass the Turing test first. And then maybe I'm in trouble.
Then maybe, yeah, whenever that is.
Maybe it's as simple as, okay, AI, watch all of these stupid Captain Cutloose videos, and now I'll start learning some lessons.
And as a coach, when are you as well? What's the best moment as a coach?
Ooh. Okay, good question.
For a change.
I used to think it was when they like sent the hard climb that they previously didn't think they could do. And that is obviously still a really exciting moment where they're like, oh, I couldn't do that on my own. And thanks to the coach, I learned what to do. And wow, now I'm really proud of myself. Did the climb. I'm actually way more excited nowadays when I see a student actually start realizing and speaking in a way that demonstrates what they start realizing they're actually capable of. So okay, yeah, if they're trying a climb and we start off from a point where they're like, I absolutely am not able to climb this grade, I'm not even really sure why we're trying it. Obviously, if we get to the point when they do it, that's great. But usually early on in the process, there's a moment where they're like, I'm actually learning how to do this, and I actually can. It's miles away from us doing the climb, but they're like, oh, I can see, and I fully believe, if I tried this another 50 times, or if I spent another few hours on this, I really think I could do this one. And then it's really exciting because then I can see them looking at other hard climbs, going like, well, maybe I could learn how to do that one, and maybe I could learn how to do that one too. And I think, yeah, getting people to be more self-confident and have more belief in their ability to learn and progress and practice stuff, seeing them realize what they're capable with that mindset, that's really exciting. So I really like teaching people that.
So easy question, what's the worst outcome?
Man, I actually had I was happy that no one was that fussed about it, but I taught 3 students, one of them 9, the others like 10 and 13. I checked beforehand. They were like, yeah, we've climbed for a few years. And I was like, okay, and just quick safety check. If I was going to let you guys just do some climbs, what don't I want to see? What do I want to see? And they're like, oh, we're not going to climb under people. We're not going to jump from the top and land on our head. We're not going to climb too near other people. I was like, okay. They know what's going on. It's fine. They've been in a climbing center before. So like, okay, cool. Warm up by doing these jug ladders. And literally within like 30 seconds, and their mum was watching as well, the littlest one like slipped from near the top and face planted like really hard. I was like, man, we're like 30 seconds in. I look like the worst guy at my job right now. And it was fine. We actually had he was a bit upset about it, but then we went back over to his mum and he was a little bit upset, but we talked about it. I was like, no, just check. Are you are you actually hurt? And he was like, no, I'm okay. I was like, was it just quite scary? He was like, I was like, oh well, I mean, overall, good news. Like that's as bad as it could possibly go. And you okay? And he was like, yeah, I'm okay. I was like, well, then we've learned we can have a really bad fall. And it's not the worst thing. It's part of it. And then I was like, I fall off like 1,000 times. I always land on my face, and it's part of it. But then I also was like, do you want an ice pack though? Because your face is like super red. You landed like really hard. So no, okay. I guess worst outcome would be, but this I can't think of this happening. No, I can't think of this happening really. If by the end of the session, someone felt like they were less confident than when they started, and that all I had done in the coaching session is prove that actually they don't know anything and they're nowhere near as good at climbing as they thought they were, I think that would be a bad lesson. So yeah, no, that's obviously the outcome I try and avoid. Usually I ask at the end, I'm like, did you enjoy it? And usually yes, because it is fun. We have a fun time climbing together. And then usually I just ask them of like, I've got already a prepared list of like, okay, it's now the end of the session. We've covered loads of stuff. I know the things that I want to make sure they remember from this session. But then I usually ask them like, what do you think the biggest thing you learned today was? And usually they say the things I'm hoping they'd say, or sometimes they say something completely different, which I hadn't remembered as an important part of the session. But that's usually interesting too. So yeah, worst outcome would be I feel like I have had my confidence in my ability undermined. Very rarely, I think maybe once or twice. I've coached for a long time. Sometimes someone falls and like hurts their ankle or something. I think that's happened once, maybe twice. But even then, I cry and say, I'm like, it's climbing, huh? Well, that's why you signed all those waivers. Like you can fall off and I land badly. Yeah, it's part of the game. So I try to do the same thing when I get injured. Where I'm like, yeah, that's annoying, but I do crazy risky stuff all day, every day. If like once a year I fall off and sprain my ankle, that's insanely good odds. I do crazy risky stuff all the time, and I should have got way more injured. So yeah, an ankle injury every now and then, it happens. So yeah, I guess if they died, that would be a pretty bad outcome. But if they didn't die or they didn't get injured, then I think them feeling less confident at the start of the session would be a bad outcome for me.
Right. So I think that was all the easy questions.
Oh no, what's the hard questions? Oh, here we go. CIA interrogation.
I go for the first one. How much do you bench?
Oh no! Don't ask me that. I've managed 80. I'm working on it. Don't ask me about shoulder press. That's much worse for me.
80 pounds.
No, kilos. Come on, man. What is 80 pounds? Is that like 20 kilos or something?
I don't know, 30, 35.
No, just about more than that. I'm working on it. So yeah, 80 kilos for my bench. I'm simultaneously proud and ashamed of my deadlifts. I'm sure you guys have seen my deadlift form before. I can do big weight, but no one likes it.
So maybe this one's better than. Well, you should not be ashamed of 80. That's decent.
Oh, that's very nice of you. Thank you.
Anyway, next one.
Okay.
How many one armers?
Ooh, in a row without changing arms.
Yeah.
No, in a year. Yes, in a row.
The most I've ever managed is 2 in a row. I think I could do 3. I haven't, so I can't say that. But I'm pretty sure if I warmed up and I had the right amount of caffeine, I think I could do 3 in a row. But how good form do you want? I wouldn't do it with momentum, but do I have to face the bar the whole time and do them like that, or can I turn and do this?
You can turn, of course.
Oh, definitely 3. Definitely 3.
With enough caffeine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Need to have a lot of caffeine first. Then it works.
Good. And what about the pistol squats?
Oh, I haven't tried in a while. Used to bang out like 15 without much issue.
Okay.
I do a lot of cycling. I think. I mean, we can check now if you want. Maybe I can still do 15. I'm gonna say 15, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, that was years ago, and you haven't checked for a while. But yeah, 15. Why not?
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I've got stronger legs than it looks. It looks like I've got very skinny chicken legs, but they're good.
Okay, what are strong? Like, what's your strength?
Oh man, yeah, okay. Oh, damn, no, I'm not sure. Okay, I think I'm okay. Yeah, I'm weirdly strong on deadlifts. Fine. I'm not bad at weighted pull-ups, but not particularly amazing. I think I've done 6 reps with 50, and I've done like 1 rep with 60-ish. So I'm almost on like 200%. I want to get my 200% pull-up.
What is your body weight actually?
I'm like 65-ish at the moment.
Ah, that's really good.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
What else? Front levers. I'm pretty good at those. Like front levers. I think my biggest strength is probably like compression or just like power. So I reckon I could do a pretty powerful pull-up. I don't know how we measure that. And I think I could squeeze really hard if the holds were wide. I don't know how we measure that either. Maybe like the flies on the TRX. I like doing those. Those are pretty good. And have I got anything else that I'll be pretty good at? Persistence. Can I put that as a strength? Yeah,
Persistence. How do you measure that? Well,
don't know.
Actually, how much time do you spend in the gym? Like the gym?
More than I used to. Like gym, yeah, like muscle weights gym.
Yeah.
So I do 2 conditioning sessions per week nowadays. I do. It probably takes about an hour. Maybe it takes 45 minutes if I'm rushing, and I do like usually 6 sets of 8 reps, and I do bent over row. Not bad at those. That's not bad. So I do bent over row. I do upright row. I do bench press. My sad little bench presses, and my much sadder shoulder presses.
how much?
Oh man, it makes me sad. I every time I do it. Oh, I told Michaela Tracy. She's a British climber. She's really strong. And she's much blunter than I am. We were going to do some training together. And I was like, oh, we should do some. I want to get stronger shoulders. We should do some shoulder presses. I'm going to try with like 15 kilos in each hand. And she was like, oh, it's like what, some kind of like pre-warm up. I was like, no, it's my max. And then she watched me do it, and straight away she's like, oh my god, you're so weak. Oh my god. I was like, she's like, oh my god, it's pathetic. I was like, stop it. I'm trying my hardest right now. So yeah, I think if I'm trying hard, I can do 30 total, not in each hand, 30 total, and I can do 8 of those, and that feels really hard for me. And then I put it down, and someone else warms up with it. So yeah, hardest gym session I had recently was, I don't know if he was doing it to put me off, but he was seemingly doing exactly the same workout that I was doing, but he was doing it with triple the amount of weight, and he was making it look really, really easy. So I tried to get into it. I was like, I'm going to pretend that I'm seeing my future if I keep being consistent with my workout. That kind of works for me.
Yeah, consistency pays.
Yeah, exactly. If I keep
They
going,
say.
I'll be 2 feet taller, 1,000 times stronger. And yeah, there we go.
How tall are you actually?
5'8" on a good day, probably 5'7". So
And
like
that's 173
about that, yeah. 71, 72, 73, whatever you like.
Yeah, 73 in the morning probably.
Yeah, exactly. And then I get tired. I'm like, oh, now I'm 70.
What you looking forward to now?
I suppose one, but I need to get better at planning stuff. I had a brief opportunity to climb in Colorado when I went to Vail for the World Cups ages ago, and one of the coolest places I've ever been. I really want to organise a trip to go back there and get on some of the climbs that I didn't manage to finish. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm going to try and do that sometime next year. Take a few weeks off, go to Colorado, do a whole load of climbing. Oh, it's going to be so nice.
Do you climb a lot outdoors actually?
Yeah, actually.
Not anywhere near as much as I'd like to. I maybe at the moment. Oh man, I was going to say like once a month, but that's not true at all. Maybe a couple of times a year if I'm lucky. I sometimes go to Font every now and then. Sometimes go and climb in the Peak District. I like gritstone. I like sandstone. I don't like limestone very much because I find it sharp and not very much friction, which I don't love. But yeah, sometimes in the Peak District, sometimes in Fontainebleau. I still haven't been to Albarracin, and I would really like to go. I'd love to go back to Magic Wood as well, or Brione. I haven't been to Brione, and I think it would suit me quite well.
It's the time.
Yeah, I know, right? Everyone's there at the moment.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, Vladek, I'll come there. I'll come there very soon. Can I chill with you?
Anytime.
Oh, thank you very much. And if you ever want to come, and I don't know why you'd want to come to London.
Why?
If you ever want to come to London, it's here. You can chill out with me. It's nice. So no, not much outdoor climbing, but I want to do more in future. I'm hoping with just Catalyst, the business like growing a little bit. Maybe there's a version of my life in future where I have less work, more time for training and climbing outdoors. Would love to spend a bit more time doing that, but not in a big rush. I'm still enjoying doing competitions occasionally and trying my best to keep up with the young ones. So no, it's not so bad at the moment. Thank you very much. Is it the end of the podcast? Are we saying goodbye?
We are saying goodbye.
Goodbye.
And it was lovely having you. It was a great chat.
Yeah.
You two are
So
lovely
much
interviewers. It was very, very nice catching up with you two. Thank you very much for having me on, guys. I really, really enjoyed it. I hope everyone enjoys listening. Maybe we'll chat again sometime. And yeah, if you ever come to London for some awful reason, let me know. And we'll go for a climb. It'll be lovely.
For
Hope
you
to see you somewhere.
Oh, yeah, I'll come to Switzerland. That's
Yeah.
much more likely.
Yeah.
I'll come see you. That sounds like a much better plan.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Lovely. Well, bye, guys. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Ciao.
See you later.